you very much, Mr. Makopane. Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor for me to be able to speak to you, present to you some of the research which my colleagues and I have been doing over the last few years. What I'm really going to try and do is to try and turn the argument on its head. The argument which you've heard over the last few days, is that the provision of legal aid and legal assistance is often prohibitively expensive, especially for developing countries. While our research will hopefully show that by not providing legal aid and legal assistance, that results in a number of negative consequences in the context of the use or overuse of pretrial detention, which has economic repercussions for detainees, their families, communities, and states. So I'm going to try and make 4 points in the 10 minutes that have been given to me. Firstly, I'm going to try and argue that legal aid and the use and misuse of pretrial detention are very much linked. What doesn't have proper legal aid and assistance, pretrial detention is often used excessively and arbitrarily. I'm going to show you some figures about the scale of the problem of pretrial detention around the world. It's quite a significant contributor to prison crime. And then we're going to show you some of our research results which show what the economic impacts actually are, both for states, but as importantly for individuals, families, and communities, the socioeconomic impacts as a result of the use of pretrial detention. And provide, firstly, a kind of an empirical basis, as it were, of what the financial implications or costs are of not providing legal aid or legal assistance in individual countries. So the next slide, please. So the first point, I think, is one which probably everybody agrees with, is that there is widespread lack of legal assistance at the early stage of the criminal justice process. At that stage where courts, prosecutors, judges have to make a decision whether somebody should await trial at liberty or should be detained awaiting trial. It's typically during that early stage that legal assistance and legal aid is laid. Secondly, we know from research which has been done in a number of countries that there's evidence that legal aid and assistance both reduces the likelihood, but also importantly the duration of pretrial detention. So people with a lawyer are typically less likely to be detained awaiting trial. And if they should be detained, the duration of that detention is lower as well. And as a previous speaker this morning pointed out, I think importantly one should take into account as well, there's some evidence to suggest that those people who do have legal assistance are less likely to be convicted. And if convicted, are less likely of getting a custodial sentence if a lawyer or legal assistance is provided for them. Even controlling for all kinds of interfering factors, such as the seriousness of the offence, the weight of the evidence against the individual accused persons, and so forth. And then thirdly, as I already pointed out, the excessive and arbitrary use of pretrial detention has wide-ranging socioeconomic consequences. But before we get to that, let me just say a few words about the scale of the problem. So the next slide, please. So we know that on a typical day, today for example, there are a bit over 3 million people awaiting trial with the finalization of the trial. More or less 1 out of every 3 persons who are imprisoned around the world are pretrial detainees. About 10 million people imprisoned at the moment around the world. It's somewhat of a conservative estimate because these figures only count those people which have been formally remanded into pretrial detention. So typically does not count those people who are awaiting trial in police lockups who haven't been remanded by a court of law to pretrial detention. So the real figure is possibly higher. But of course, pretrial detention doesn't just affect people at one moment in time, as a snapshot today, for example, but it affects a great number of individuals over a typical year. And we very conservatively again estimate that during a typical year, probably around 15 million unique individuals circulate through the world's pretrial detention systems. And if one takes that figure into account and then considers the family members, the spouses, the younger children, the aged parents who are affected by those 15 million people being detained, we are really talking about a very large number of people who are pretty directly affected in one way or another by the excessive or arbitrary use of pretrial detention. Next slide. Another way of looking at it, not just the raw numbers, how many people are in detention on a typical day or over the course of a typical year, is to try and think how many days do people spend in detention. So if you take the present cohort of pre-trial detainees, so 3.3 million people, we know from the data we have from countries in different parts of the world that conservatively speaking, collectively, that cohort will spend some 660 million days altogether awaiting trial, the finalization of the trial, a bit over 500 million days. So that's a considerable waste of human potential. The Empire State Building, for many, many years, the tallest and largest building in the Americas, only took 875,000 people person days to build, not even a million person days. Historians estimate that the building of the Pyramid of Cheops, the largest pyramid in Egypt, took some 52 million days to build. So the number of days wasted by persons who are legally considered innocent, and indeed many will not end up being convicted, the collective number of days they will spend awaiting trial is quite significant. Next slide, please. So how do we quantify, how do we put a dollar or a rand amount or a financial amount to this use of pretrial detention? In developing countries, most of the cost is borne by the state. The state provides food, medication, infrastructure, housing, etc. for pretrial detainees. But we found that in many developing countries, that cost is often passed on to the individual detainees and their families. It's not the state, but rather the families of detainees, which often have to provide clothing, food, and medication for persons who've been detained. But let's first start with state's costs. So the next slide. We've got some data, it's a little bit dated because this kind of information isn't collected all the time, but from information that was collected in 2010 from the 47 member states of the Council of Europe, from European countries. And collectively, these 47 countries spent some almost $18 billion in that year to detain some 350,000 pretrial detainees. Not only is it a lot of money for those countries, and I think nobody would argue that there should be no pretrial detention, but certainly overusing it, using it excessively, is very significant opportunity cost for states. Because some of that money could be used much more effectively to prevent crime, employing more police officers, employing more prosecutors, building more courtrooms, and so forth. But if one puts it into perspective in terms of development money, which is used for work in other parts of the world, one begins to realize what amount of money one is talking about. So that $18 billion would be enough to feed some 23 million people for 1 year. In addition to that, it would match the World Health Organization's biannual budget. It would also match the Global Fund on HIV/AIDS tuberculosis for a year, and it would match the US budget. Just the money that those European countries spend on pretrial detention. Next slide. To give you an example of middle-income countries, obviously most of the European countries are high-income countries, but if I look at a middle-income country like Mexico, is already somewhat of a shift. The state still bears much of the cost of detention, some 63,000 pesos a year, some $6,300 a year, but much of the cost of the detention is borne by detainees, their families, and then to a lesser extent by communities. Next slide. And if we then look at poorer countries, next slide. We did a study with the UNDP and some other partners in the following three countries, Ghana, Guinea, and Sierra Leone in West Africa, a few years ago. So we interviewed a random sample of pretrial detainees and family members of those detainees. And we found that the typical pretrial detainee in those three countries at least were married men in their 30s, typically the age when people are the most productive. Were typically breadwinners, earning at least the minimum monthly wage for those countries. They had average levels of education for those countries, and they were supporting between 4 and 7 dependents, either minor children, spouses, or aged parents. Next slide. And the socioeconomic impacts as a result of the detention of these individuals, on average, were quite significant. Families, very often, in most cases, and I'll give you some figures on that in a moment, lost the support of a breadwinner. Many families fell deeper into poverty. With less money for food, they fell into debt, and often had to sell household goods or items simply to survive, and often quite crucial household items, like a refrigerator, a bicycle, or a tractor, or a milling machine, which they needed to earn a proper income. So it was impoverished families in that sense. And of course, this lack of income to these households was exacerbated by the fact that they incurred very direct costs as a result of the detention of a family member, because often these households had to provide food and medication to their detained relative. They had to pay transport costs to go and visit the detained relative, pay for lawyers, or pay for bribes. Next slide. Here's just some figures about the consequences. You can see that virtually all of the pre-trial detainees, which we randomly sampled in those three countries, were economically productive or active in one way or another. Either they were formally employed or they worked in the informal economy and contributed in that sense to the household income. Quite a number of families sold household goods, between about 10% and the first quarter. Many families fell into debt, close to half in some countries. In some cases, children were taken out of school to try and build an income which was forgone as a result of the detention of very often a father or an elder brother. So that really the impact wasn't just on the family at that moment in time, but there was really a generational impact which would affect those children and families for longer periods of time. Next slide, please. And then just to show you another set of figures, there aren't only obviously those very direct economic costs, selling of household goods, paying for a lawyer, paying for bribes. But in the vast majority of cases, the pre-trial detainees also fell ill as a result of being imprisoned in very crowded and often unhealthy conditions, which obviously would have long-term consequences, not only for their own productive potential, but also for the money that their families would have to spend to look after and care. So just a final slide. So I think one can make an argument, at least from the information and the evidence that we've collected so far, that the dearth or the lack of legal aid education contributes to the excessive use and duration of pre-trial detention, which obviously reduces the income of detainees, their families, households, and communities. It very often negatively affects not only the economic but social and psychological well-being of individuals and households. It contributes to the spread of disease. It's a public health issue or problem. And very clearly, certainly in more developed states, there's a very clear cost to the state, an opportunity cost, where the state spends a lot of money on pre-trial detention, which it could spend otherwise on crime prevention or crime combating activities or expenditure. Thank you.